Hello, and welcome to another training session for Active Planner. In the previous session, we looked at the basics of flow or consolidation, and in there we looked at the concept of the data flowing from or consolidating from child to parent, from that parent to its parent. And now today we want to look at digging into this a little bit deeper and fully understanding the concept of flow. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and take a look at one of the plan sheets we created in our earlier training session. So let's open up one of the plan sheets. And here we can see that we have the expense items for salary and G&A and a total for that. And one of the things I wanted to mention to you or to help you understand is that typically when we're creating these the sheets that would aggregate or consolidate values from child sheets, typically these roll-up sheets, these summary sheets, we maintain the same look and feel in the roll-up or the summary sheets as we do in the detail sheets. And so previously, in the earlier session, we looked at the aggregating or flowing the total row into the parent, where what is more typically set up is a situation where we consolidate or we flow the individual rows from child to parent, and so that's what I want to do is walk through the setup of that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create that summary level sheet. So we use our detail sheet for this department as the source for the beginning, the first as the template, if you will, for what we're going to create. So what we're going to do is we're going to first of all go ahead and save a copy of this, and this will be this sheet will represent the summary of the various IT locations. So let's make this IT summary as a sheet key, and we'll just go ahead and use that as a description as well. And we'll assign Alan, who manages the entire department, as a sheet manager. Save that, insert a new record, and let's see, in our summary sheet, we're not going to keep the increased percentage, so we'll go ahead and get rid of that. So we'll delete that column. And then the next thing we need to look at is it would be the structure here. What I mean by that is just simply 6,000, the account number 6,000-100-800-00. This account is really valid for only one of the IT departments, IT location sheets. So what we really want to happen here is we really want this to represent the summary or the aggregation of all of the regular salaries for all of the IT locations. So what we typically do is use just the natural account number, and in our GL chart structure, the natural account is the first segment. So we really want this to be account 6,000 and the next row to be account 6010. And then I see that our descriptions also are unique to the particular location, so we would want to make those much more generic. So in your environment, you probably have your natural accounts and a list of the descriptions saved somewhere already, where you could just copy and paste those in here. In my case, I'm going to actually borrow this information from my plan sheet and just clean it up quickly in Excel. So I'm going to do Control-C, copy, open up my Excel spreadsheet, and paste it in. And just as a little trick, I just want you to be aware that I routinely copy and paste between Active Planner and Excel. So when I'm in the development mode, I routinely have a blank Excel file open and copy and paste between the two. So in our case, one of the things we want to do is we want to clean up the account number, and that is we want to eliminate the second, third, and fourth segment. So very easy to do in Excel. We can do a find and replace, and so what we want to find is the dash 100 dash 800 dash 00, and we want to replace that with nothing. And so now these values are the ones we want to take over to Active Planner. So we'll just paste those back in here. Okay, first thing we'll notice is that our descriptions disappear. And so in Active Planner, whenever we enter an account number, Active Planner by default wants to go out to the general ledger data and find the description as well as other attributes about that account number. Account 6000 with no second, third, and fourth segment is not valid in our chart, so it could not find any description to match that, so it put in essentially a blank description. Now we're going to paste our own descriptions in, but the first thing we want to do is go ahead and take a quick second and go to our sheet options to the other tab, and here under dimension options is where we can control whether or not Active Planner is automatically entering the description values for us. So auto dimension description entry, if we remove that check mark, then it will no longer try to attempt to enter the descriptions on its own, but leaves them free for us to enter. So let's remove that check mark, save that, and now we are free to put in our own descriptions. So coming back to Excel, let's do a similar thing here where we do a find and replace, and I want to find the North American IT description and replace that with nothing. And in a very similar way, I see that there are two spaces at the beginning of the descriptions. If we want to remove that, we can simply do a find and replace of two spaces. And now we can paste these back into Active Planner. Okay. And then the last thing is we can do a little bit of cleanup here, where we delete any of the values from the sheet that we copied. Okay, so this would represent a good starting point for our summary sheets. And now let's go back and take a look at taking our child sheets and changing those so that they are prepared then for the flow. Okay. First thing we want to do is, now that we've created the IT summary, is let's take a look at positionally what we want to do here. Let's go ahead and take our plan sheets for each of our IT locations, and let's drag them into position here. Okay. So the within Active Planner, the flow or the consolidation is always based on the tree structure. But it does give us great flexibility in that we can easily maintain the tree-like structure. Let's take a look at the department sheet. And doesn't matter which one we start with. Let's go back to department 100, 800, where we always start. And the first thing we want to do is take a look at the parent's row ID. And from the previous training session, we learned that we would want to enter a row ID here for the parent's row ID here for each of our each of our accounts, identifying that these are the rows that will flow into the parent. And in the parent, there would be a row ID marked as 6000, another one as 6010. So yeah, we could enter these one at a time. But what I wanted to show you today is that the way we typically set this up is we use a feature in Active Planner called the automatic ID generation as a methodology for creating our parent row IDs automatically. So if we look at the dialog boxes at the bottom portion of it says, gives us the option to automatically generate parent row IDs. And so our desire here is actually that we would want to use the natural account, that is segment 1 of our account number, as the parent's row ID. And so we could very easily create that using this dialog box. There's two buttons here at the bottom, one for inserting the full dimension, that is the 6000-100-800-00. Our goal, though, is to create the parent's row ID using segment 1. So we use the second button that says Insert Dimension Segment. And the segment that we want to insert, we could choose segment 1, 2, 3, or 4, but we want to insert segment 1. And that is how it is going to automatically create the parent's row ID for every row in the plan sheet. So very quickly and easily, we have created the row ID, the parent's row ID, for every row. And so now this plan sheet is prepared to flow into its parent. So let's save this. And now let's take just a quick second and set up each of our other department sheets to be prepared then for flow into the parent. So we'll just real quickly do the same setup here for each of our other plan sheets. All right, and we're almost done. Last plan sheet. And we've completed the setup for each of the child sheets. And now let's finish the setup process for the summary level sheet. Okay, so again, in our summary level sheet, we've created a structure that mimics what we've done in our child. So we have a similar look and feel, a place for each of the rows to flow into, total formula at the bottom. And so now we just need to do the setup then for the flow. And so if we look at the row ID and parent row ID, we see that they are blank, so we just need to fill in these items. And again, what we want to do is we want to use the ID generation to automatically create the IDs, the row IDs, and the parent row IDs for our summary sheet. And so much as we did for the child, we want to automatically create parent row IDs based on the first segment. And this will allow the values from this plan sheet to flow into its parent as well. And then secondarily, we want to set up the row IDs. So this is what we are matching in the child. And again, this would be based on the segment 1 values in the first segment. And again, let me caution you that we always want to use the Consolidate All Sheets option, so that as we later on expand and create and drag additional plan sheets under this parent, all of the sheets will automatically consolidate into here, so we don't have to come back and manage this again. Okay, and as we talked about in the previous training session, there can be no duplicate row IDs. Each row ID must be unique. So when we use the auto ID generation, it runs a quick test to make sure that there are no duplicate row IDs, that everyone was created uniquely. Okay, so we have prepared the plan sheet then for consolidating all of the summary sheets that we drag, all of the department sheets that we drag into position under this summary sheet. If we save it real quickly, we can do a quick test using the consolidate subsheet option. Okay, let's take a quick look at our ID generation again. Let's make sure we have the consolidate all subsheets turned on and test the process, consolidation process. Okay. Okay, so now we can see that is working. And all of the subsheets, all of the child sheets have been aggregated into the parent. So okay, the next thing we want to look at is the concept of using our summary sheets to create aggregations of summary sheets. So let me just take our plan sheet here and clear the values out of there. And what we're going to do is we're going to save it. And then from here we want to create a couple other summary level sheets. One of the things we want to do is let's create another summary level sheet that would represent the facilities department. And we'll save that and insert a new record. And now what we're going to begin to do is create a structure then that has the facility department, the IT department, and then what we want to do is we want to actually consolidate both of those departments together. So we'll create one more summary sheet that would be, let's say it's our overhead summary, representing the roll-up of all the overhead departments. Okay, so now let's take our overhead summary sheet, our IT summary, and our facilities summary, and create our tree-like structure here. Right now we don't have any detail sheets in the facility department, so well, let's go ahead and just quickly create one of those. We'll borrow from our IT corporate, and let's make a corporate for facilities. And we'll assign Sarah to be the manager of this sheet. Insert a new record. And then we will quickly change the accounts. Okay, so what we want to change would be the 800 needs to be changed to 700, which is our facilities department. So we'll replace all of those. Save it, and now it is prepared to be a facilities department plan sheet. And inside of Active Planner, when you create a new sheet like this, Active Planner does not know where it's supposed to belong positionally on the tree. So it always puts it under the unassigned sheets, giving us the opportunity to grab it and then drag it to its correct position on the tree. Okay, the last thing I want to do is to look at the flow then, not sheet by sheet, but across the entire plan structure. So if we right-click here on the top node representing our summary of all of the overhead departments. We can look at the plan processing. Under the processing tab, this is where we can control the consolidation across the entire plan, or at least the entire branch that we've selected. And so we know that we'll want to do a consolidation of all of these plan sheets. Now, in our case, we know that the department level sheets have calculations in there, calculations for each row. And what we want to do is we want to use the same plan processing feature to first of all refresh those calculations. Especially important for our new department or corporate facilities department sheet, because we changed the account numbers, but we've never pulled in new net change values then for those new account numbers. So we definitely need to refresh it for that department, but let's go ahead and refresh it for all of the department sheets. And we can accomplish that simply by using the option down here that says Subsheet Calculations before consolidation. So the concept here is just simply we're going to consolidate all of the plan sheets across the entire branch, entire tree structure. But before we do that consolidation, let's refresh the calculation so that we have the latest values then in the plan sheet before we consolidate those up through the tree-like structure. So we choose plan processing, the processing tab, consolidation, and we say that we want to consolidate or refresh the calculations before doing the consolidation process. So we'll click the Run button, and Active Planner then again will find its way down to the very lowest levels of the tree, the bottom levels, the leaf nodes, if you will, and refresh the calculations in those plan sheets, and then aggregate those new values up through the entire tree-like structure. So this is a very powerful feature, and this is actually where we typically spend most of our time managing the plan tree once we have created all the plan sheets and the right structure. So we'll give that a moment to finish. It looks like it's almost done. Okay, complete. And so now we have refreshed the calculations and consolidated the subsheets all the way up through the summary level sheets on into the overhead summary. Okay, here we can see the aggregated values here. All right, the last concept then is to take a look at the process of managing the consolidation throughout your budget cycle. So once we've refreshed the calculations, that is bringing in the source net change and other external values into our plan sheets, the last step in the budget planning cycle is typically then for the individual department managers to come into their plan sheets and then to start to make adjustments to their budgets. And the way we've designed this one is that they would just simply do their budget increase based on last year's actual, and row by row identifying what the appropriate increases will be for each row. And so as they're doing their row-by-row budgeting, they would be making their adjustments and save their plan sheet. And so the concept at this point is throughout the budget cycle, they're making adjustments to their budget. The historical actuals aren't changing. The only thing that's really changed inside of our plan sheets then are those budget values. And so using the plan processing, we would go to the processing tab, and we need to consolidate their new budget values up through the tree-like structure. But I don't need to refresh the calculations. We're going to leave the historical actuals alone. And what we want to do is to just simply refresh those new budget values. So all we need to do is the consolidation only. So we'll put a check mark next to consolidation, and then run the consolidation feature. And you'll find that this is much, much faster than refreshing the subsheet calculations, because we're not taking the time to pull in all of the external data into each plan sheet and recalculate it before the consolidation. We're just simply taking the values and flowing them up through or consolidating them up through the tree-like structure. So it's usually a very, very fast feature and function. So, okay, so these are the concepts that we wanted to train you on today, and I will thank you for your time and look forward to working with you in the next training session.